Hello, welcome to another video, and today I'm going to talk about the industry and being hopeful in this industry as an artist and a writer, because they all tie into each other. And even if you're not either of those things and you're just an enjoyer or you're a reader or you're like a hobbyist, I think since 2022 and generative AI hitting the ground, we've all noticed a huge shift with public sentiment toward big and major companies. We see that, like, one of the most recent would be Duolingo switching to a completely AI company, and the outrage against it is very telling of the disconnect between the people with the money and the people who are just your everyday people. So shareholders, if they're wanting to appease their shareholders, and a lot of that time that means cutting corners and staying safe. So the media output has shifted. And that's why Larian Studios made Baldur's Gate 3, and that game exceeded expectations and set a higher standard for games. And it upset the status quo, if you will, of the industry. And people are still playing the game even today. It's been 3 years since it released, or 2 years, I think 2 years. But regardless, these smaller companies are leaving a bigger cultural impact than these big AAA studios, and that gives me hope, because it shows me a path that this isn't over. And so my sentiment today is a lot different than it was back in 2022. 2022, I was struggling really hard to see hope in the future. I felt like giving up. And now I don't. Now I get upset. I get pessimistic sometimes, because I think everybody does when they work a lot and it feels like you're just running in place. But I saw that question posed: how do you have hope in this bleak industry? And a lot of people will say, like, go get another job, pause your passion for a while, stop complaining, everybody goes through this, things like that. And it's like, that's not helpful, because it ignored the question of how do you have hope. And the main thing that I think about is something one of my instructors said back when I was in college, like 10, 11 years ago, 12 years ago. I was in college for graphic design, and my instructor said he had to rebrand himself multiple times, 2-3 times over the several decades that he'd been a designer. And because the industry changed, and in order to stay relevant, he had to pivot. And I feel like we are in that kind of mode collectively. And I've heard people say this, but I was jaded, because I'm like, well, it's AI. This is completely different than when the camera came out. And it is. However, what we are seeing is the late stage capitalism entwined with all of this. And the economy being in shambles right now, and everything is uncertain. And so I can't really speak on that, but I do know that now, compared to 5 years ago, the sentiment was things are getting worse, the enshittification of everything. And today we are seeing that happen before our eyes. And what I'm noticing, at least, barring all these other issues, is that people are enjoying independent content, independent creators, because these smaller companies are not represented by shareholders. They are not incentivized to curb their creativity and their voices. And so I'm seeing an explosion of sorts. I could have just not paid attention before, but I'm definitely noticing it now, that a lot of people are preferring authenticity of human craftsmanship to AI. You know, we see what happened with Duolingo, and we're seeing in the backlash to that. And now we're seeing, and I'm seeing like a trend of people who just don't want to give their money and time to something that isn't real. So authors, if you use AI for your covers, there's no reason for people to believe that your book is not AI. And they're not going to want to give their money, that's hard to earn right now, to something that they don't even know if you actually made it. Because there's this connection with art that I think people who feel like, oh, cash grab, try to make a quick buck, don't get. And that is the seeing how people make art, the processes, the connection, the human thought behind the process, and the decision makings and things like that. And that will never change. And so like right now, like to go back to what my graphic designer teacher said about rebranding, I feel like, you know, that's where we're at right now. Like, and it is entwined with late stage capitalism. So we're all trying to kind of find our feet here. And it's definitely in favor, in my opinion, of people and connection versus corporation and shareholders. So that's how I'm kind of holding out hope that things are they're going to get better, and I think they're on their way. And now for, you know, personally, what I'm doing right now is trying to expand my art pockets, I guess, of income, because like I've been doing freelance art since 2009, like actually started taking commissions, and that's goddamn a long time ago, like 16 years ago, I believe. I've done several book covers, not as many as I wish, but I'm starting to get into it. I've got like 2 authors who hope to commission me for their covers, so that's pretty cool. I've done hundreds of character art at this point, so I feel pretty good about that, but it doesn't pay enough. Like I don't have the style that, you know, the big paying gigs want, and those are also tied into the, you know, the industry that just wants to stay safe, and that's fine. I still keep the door open because I never know if my style is going to change, because, you know, the one thing about art is that it's not stagnant. And I might end up leaning to a more refined painterly style down the road. But right now, that's not it. And that's okay. You gotta give yourself grace, because I am getting commissions. People do like my work, so I can't take that personally. I am still working on improving my work always, because it's never done. You're never done. But like, I'm trying to also look into digital products. Like this video is for a character adopt that I intend to finish and put on my Ko-fi shop. Character adopts, sometimes item adopts for those characters or whatever, because people like to RP. If you're not in that space, it's a whole other thing. And I've been on the internet for a very long time, so I'm in those spaces. And I love character adopts. I just don't make that many. But I'd also like to offer, you know, brushes eventually when I figure out how to make them. Because I know I want to make some custom brushes for myself. And I'm like, well, I could also offer those. I like to offer like digital art books. I think would be pretty fun, because I've purchased them. Maybe even start trying my hand at comics and do those things too. I don't know. Stickers, prints. I have an in-print store, so I need to actually update that and use it. You know, my Patreon, I need to actually use that better too. Sorry guys. I am trying to do better with a lot of this stuff. I have books. I write a lot, so I'm going to be posting my serial fiction onto Patreon, and early access gets that. They've already been getting it, but I'm going to be more consistent, I think. Freelancing is just not enough anymore. But that doesn't mean that there's not other avenues, and we just kind of have to try to work with what we have. But I think collectively as a whole, people are tired of the safe stories. They're tired of the safe media. They want new, innovative stories that really explore a lot more and go deeper. And that's why I think independent media is going to, if not already, starting to gain a stronger hold on people in general. So while we're in a really tough spot right now, I think it's going to happen, that things are going to get better. It's going to be hard right now. So just keep hanging in there. That's all I got.